Welcome back to the channel. My name is KPZ. You're here on the home of the Slightly Above Average Ship Review. Here in part 2 of the Average Player's Guide to Playing in Battleships. Battleshipping just doesn't sound right the way that Destroyering did. Average Player's Guide to Battleships. Alright, so I said we would discuss shell selection, I would discuss aiming, I would discuss angling, and I would discuss when to push. Alright, I think we're going to have 4 different matches, clips from 4 different matches in this video. Here we are in the Lenin, one of my very favorite ships, available for a limited time. We are holding the flank on the far right side of the map in a domination match. This is something that Russian ships, in my opinion, particularly excel at due to their armor characteristics. Now, the Lenin does not have what we would call an icebreaker bow, where an armor belt or heavier armor goes to the front of the ship, but it does have a very strong armor profile. I strongly encourage, especially new players, to check out the armor viewer when you are in the port of enemy ships that you are struggling, finding out ways to kill, or new ship comes into the game. Go reduce that armor down to just the Citadel to see where the Citadel is at. Yes, you can default and have your shells impact in the middle of the ship. We'll talk more about that in a different clip. And angling to see not just your armor, the ideal way to position your armor, but also ways to exploit the enemy's armor. Alright, you can see I switched from armor piercing initially to high explosive. I did set a ship on fire. A destroyer, I believe, is encroaching off to where I'm aiming at. So I'm really glad I switched to HE, because what kind of ship should you shoot high explosive at when you're in a battleship? Definitely a destroyer, because you want that splash damage. The other reason is that your armor piercing shells have something called an arming threshold. I talk about it in my more recent Tech Tree Spotlights. I give you the minimum depth of armor you need for the shells to arm and the depth that it would over penetrate. And so HE, you're going to splash damage this destroyer, whereas AP would go right through him. I believe over penetrating just as 10% of the damage. There you can see we took out, I guess that might have been Apollo Emilio with HE. Didn't even need to set him on fire because we had set him on fire before. He burned down, making him relatively easy for us to kill. And more importantly, we weren't in his torpedo range, so I don't have to worry about the Paolo Emilio's very high damage torpedoes. Alright, you can see the Roma is giving us a bow on angle here. Not totally bow on, but he is angling. So this is another scenario where you might want to shoot high explosive. You have a ship at a bad angle for you. I'm actually presenting a little too much broadside there to get all 3 turrets on target. But that being said, it worked and we set the Roma on fire. So that would be the other scenario when you have a ship with a relatively good armor profile presenting to you an angle and you are worried you don't have a good surface to shoot at. When you shoot high explosive, your goal is to set the enemy ship on fire and do damage that way. Now, when we talk about ships in World of Warships Legends that might want to shoot HE a lot, or a lot of the time, we're going to talk about 3 different nation ships. All right, generally speaking, in World of Warships Legends, the English ships or Royal Navy battleships have a really great fire chance. I'm going to read you some fire percentage chance by ship tier. Orion, tier 3, 40%. Iron Duke, tier 4, 40%. Ismail, Russian battleship, tier 5, 38%. King George V, tier 6, 41%. Vanguard, tier 7 Royal Navy ship, 42%. Temeraire, tier 8 Royal Navy Tech Tree battleship, 48%. So when you're shooting at a destroyer like a Hayate, yeah, you want to shoot high explosive. Easy to finish those destroyers off. Now, if you have armor piercing loaded, do I recommend switching your shell type to high explosive? Only if you think you have enough time to get those shells reloaded and get them off before you're hit by a torpedo. Or if you have that Azerland Commander, which I think isn't available anymore, which has instantaneous shell switching, then yeah, it might be worth it to switch. But if you can't switch, shoot what you have, get at least the overpen damage, and then change your shell type after you fire to AG. All right, here, a little bit of bad angling, I guess. We're caught in between two ships. There really isn't a good way out of this for me. I push simply because one of two ships left on our team, and I got to do something, and I'm trying to take somebody out. Obviously, that FDG is lighting me up with the secondaries and really tearing me down. Here you're going to see some good angling by an enemy ship. Now, maybe I should have aimed up into the superstructure. As you will see when I go into the binocular view, I was trying to penetrate the bow plating of the Roma. However, he is at an advantageous angle. All those don't do anything. You can see 9 shatters, I guess, on the bow of the Roma. So there is good for the enemy angling, bad for us angling. So maybe that's an instance where I should have aimed up into the superstructure, but the superstructure only has a certain amount of hit points allocated to it, and I think I may have burned a lot of those away, so I didn't feel I could kill the Roma by shooting into the superstructure. That's why I aimed at the bow plating. All right, we're going to clip to another match maybe here in a second and give you just some more examples of angling and stuff like that. All right, so again, ships that have good HE, Royal Navy ships have a higher HE fire chance. Russian ships, usually the second best HE fire chance, except for the Ismail, which is the best. And Japanese ships do have good HE damage, but they don't have the fire chance that the Royal Navy or the Soviet ships have. All right, let's talk about aiming. So we've got a heavy cruiser here, so not necessarily going as fast as a battleship, but not as fast as a light cruiser. So we're in the Lenin again. Okay, well, somebody did some really good aiming. But we did get a Citadel hit here. And my point of showing you that was not to show how I can expertly kill pinch, but more to show you that a lot of the times the Citadel for a cruiser is located in the rear third of the ship, or that's the best place to have your shells impact in order to get a Citadel on a cruiser. We will show maybe some other stuff in a different clip where you're going to see that too. But here, again, moving out of the Lenin, you can see I really don't need to worry about my armor profile, although I'm not going broadside at this point because I don't know who's out there and I don't want to needlessly expose my Citadel. As you may or may not know, Russian ships have a very weak broadside in terms of their armor. And so if you go broadside in a Russian ship, you are risking your life against a Dev Strike. So I try not to do that. But in fairness, you do have to expose a little bit of the angle in order to get all 3 of these front-mounted turrets in the Lenin on target. And now granted, there are a lot of ships in the game. Again, go in your armor viewer. When you're playing that ship in the beginning of the match, turn your ship and see what kind of angle you have to present to get all the turrets to line up together. All right, I can tell you a lot of ships with multiple turrets, even the Agincourt could be this way. Japanese battleships that tend to have a lot of 2 rifle turrets, you're going to have to give up a lot of broadside in order to get all turrets on target. All right, there we got a glimpse of the Marlborough, and our salvo pretty much fell short. I'm not saying I aimed that badly. I'm just saying I think that maybe RNG didn't really help me with where those shells landed. We are in the accuracy part of the range for a Russian ship. So here I'm going to aim a little bit more deliberately. We're aiming at the front turret, and we're hoping to impact right behind it, and you can see 4 hits to Citadel there. Really devastated the Marlborough. He wasn't going very fast, so we didn't have to lead him very much. He also wasn't very far away, so we didn't have to lead him very much. So I will tell you at range, on this little aiming indicator, I would give 2 big up segments for a battleship, maybe 2.5 for a cruiser, maybe 3 for a destroyer. Here, where the ship isn't moving very much at all, you can kind of put the dot on where you want to impact the enemy ship, and clearly not have any issue taking him out, as we punished the Marlborough for exposing his broadside. And that's the thing, if you gave me a choice to ships to shoot at, I'm always going to shoot at a broadside ship, unless I feel I would just overpen the ship with my AP shells, and then at that point maybe I'd be looking for that same class of ship, like a cruiser, maybe looking for a cruiser with a little bit of an angle to it to make those shells arm. Again, it's not exact. I don't expect that you will memorize the armor thickness of every ship in the game. I certainly can tell you I don't do that. I just kind of generally guess that, hey, it's a battleship and it's broadside, I'm going to shoot at it and not have a problem. Hey, it's a cruiser and it's broadside, I'm going to shoot to the rear third of the ship, and I probably will get a citadel. Or if I notice I get overpens, which I think is the second or third ribbon, the hit marker ribbons. I can't remember. They added one for the armor belt. I think that's the third one. So let's just say an overpen is the second one. If I get a lot of overpens, then I know that, you know, that armor of that enemy ship isn't arming my armor piercing. And so I need to let him take a little bit of an angle before trying again. All right, here we've got the hipper. I am probably aiming a little bit too far ahead, although we do great damage. But again, 3 overpens there, just 1 full value penetration. And so that wasn't great. I am mindful of torpedoes here. So here we're going to go wide to avoid the torpedoes. And we're going to aim a little bit farther forward, again, kind of in the middle-ish, towards the end, not an ideal shot placement. Here I'm just going to aim all wrong and go into the middle, and that was bad. And again, you can see 1 penetration, 3 overpens. So the hipper, much more agile of a ship than the Lenin, and so the hipper is going to turn in on me, presumably to get torpedoes off. All right, and so now I'm going to alter my aim up into the superstructure, and you'll see this last salvo is going to go up into the superstructure and take out the hipper. So again, different aiming. I'm not saying I did that all correctly. Ideally, you want your shells against a cruiser to land in the last third of the ship, in my opinion. But that being said, don't forget, like I said earlier, go into the armor viewer, look at these ships, take off the armor stuff. All right, so something I kind of realized at this point I haven't really talked about was when to push. So here in this game you're currently watching, we pushed because I killed all the enemy ships on our side of the map. Now we're on another game. So here we're going to start pushing because a lot of the enemy ships just came out and gave me full broadside here. Now we're going to try to make them pay. Here's one where I didn't really aim great. And these shells don't really impact on the Iowa in a great place. A bunch of, it looks like some overpens there, actually a ton of them. Here we're gonna adjust our aim a little bit farther forward and see if these are good shots on the Iowa. They're very good shots, bunch of citadels and an overpen, but the Iowa is quickly dispatched. Now here we're pushing through the cap just to get access to these enemy ships. Now I could stand farther back and snipe. This ship has like a 20-kilometer main battery range. I'm just not interested in that because they're giving me full broadside. I want to take advantage of that situation and not leave so much up to chance. The farther away you are, the harder it's to hit something. I know that kind of must make sense, right? So here we're pushing. So let's just talk about pushing in general. Right as I'm about to smash the Suzuma, you can see he's 12 kilometers away, not going very fast. So we led him like 1 1/4. 3 hits the Citadel. He got smashed there. And we're going to go in here and kill this Kansas too. So let's talk about pushing. When to push. A, you've killed all your ships on your side of the map. All the enemy ships. So you need to move to engage the enemy ships elsewhere in the map. You're pushing because you captured your cap circle in a domination match and there's nothing else going there. You're pushing up because you're trying to advance to a different part of the map to get a crossfire or a tactical advantage on the enemy ships. Or you're pushing because you're being threatened by an enemy ship like a destroyer, or maybe you're in a battleship with really weak AA and you're being targeted by the carrier. You're trying to get to safety or get to the company of another ship that can help you stay alive. Okay, so that's why to push. So here we're pushing up. We forced the Kansas to turn against his own turrets. Now he does have them all lined up, but it's not going to matter. Shells impacting middle of the ship, another hit to Citadel. Here we're going to go switch our guns to the Minotaur. Now again, I said earlier, cruisers, last third of the ship is usually a good place to aim. Here we're going to aim for the last third of the Minotaur. And the Minotaur, even though he has a little bit of an angle, that probably helped us out. A couple of Citadels there, and he is dead. So essentially, aiming, angling, which I didn't really discuss a ton, but I think I discussed it enough. Shell selection, when to push. If there's a subject you would like me to cover in an additional Battleship Player's Guide, please let me know. More than willing to make a video with some content addressing it. Again, I'm just an average player in this game. Winning percentage, 54%, just above average. But that being said, I think I kind of know what I'm doing a little bit in the battleship. So as we unlocked the gear yesterday, this is from Baz's live stream. Thanks for having me, Baz. Good teaming up with you and Chris. And yeah, so that's it for the video. I hope everybody enjoyed it. If you did enjoy it or it helped you in any way, please hit the like button. Please subscribe if you watch more than 5 of my videos and haven't subscribed. It'd be nice. But again, I don't have any illusions. I'm never going to be a community contributor. I don't really care about that. But it'd be nice to know that people appreciate your work. You know, my regular viewers, I always appreciate your comments. So I'll see you next time. If you want another set of videos here, comment below.